Hey guys, today we're gonna go over a bike that is not talked about much, but maybe it should be. It's my Aprilia Shiver 750. So a bit of background. This is a 2008 Aprilia Shiver 750. It's been around for quite some time, and Aprilia positioned this motorcycle to compete directly at, you guessed it, the Ducati Monster 696 and to some extent the 796 or whatever numbers it is on the mid-level Ducati. So just like the Monster, this is an L-twin motor tied to a 6-speed transmission and via chain to a massive 180 rear tire. Styling wise, it's a sport naked, just like the Monster, just like the SV, just like a whole bunch of other bikes that are out there now. The FZ, the Speed Triple, Street Triple, all that. It's a sport naked motorcycle. This particular bike for me is my second Shiver. Yeah, I've owned two of these now. My first one was a 2014 Shiver 750. I had it for a little bit, and then I traded it for an FZ09. And then I owned a bunch of other bikes, and then I got an opportunity to buy this at a pretty good price, and I picked it up. So this is a 2008 Aprilia with a little bit of higher mileage. So when I got it, it's in good condition. That's why I picked it up. In the used market, these do pretty good. Compared to a Monster, it usually holds about the same value, but they're usually molested less because not a lot of folks get Aprilias compared to Ducatis. So even though this is a 2008, the previous owner put nothing but Aprilia components on there, took really good care of it, unlike you get with the Ducati crowd. If you look at used Monsters, you'll get them with aftermarket headlights, with exhaust or aftermarket side mirrors, exhaust that don't really fit the bike well, and usually terrible maintenance. So let's start our overview of the Shiver 750 with the impact of it, the looks, aesthetics, and shape of it. They did target this to go directly towards the Ducati Monster, but when they went to the styling department, they pretty much used nothing but a ruler. Everything is straight, edgy, sharp corners, while still maintaining a lot of the styling cues that are very strong and popular with sport naked. So you've got an exposed cellist frame. As I mentioned, this is a 2008, which is particularly special because it has the gold frame. They went to silver and I think a black color later on, but this has the gold frame with the gold bars, exposed trellis frame. It's got really sharp edges from front to back all the way to the tail. It's got a pronounced seat position, which we'll go over during the ergos. And you've got this shroud that goes up to the front, which is similar to the Duro styling cues. So it's got more of like a supermoto kind of reach on here, similar to the Duro. The tank feels pretty big, and I'll show you when the POV of the front here. So styling to me, compared to the Monster, I like this better. To me, it looks a little bit more aggressive, and I really dig how this looks, especially with the huge 180 rear tire. That's as big as my leader bike over there. So it's a huge rear tire, which has such a big impact when you're looking at it from the rear. When it comes to ergonomics, this is a sport naked. It's gonna have a little bit more upright seating position. I am 5'10", 175 pounds or so, and I am fully flat-footed, and my hands are comfortably on the handlebars at a very neutral position. Once I'm in the riding position, I tend to scoot back right up to the back wall here, and I'm comfortable. Comparing it to the Monster, this is a little bit more upright and more comfortable on the freeway. It does sacrifice a little bit more on that aggressive stance because I gotta work a little harder to get down in here because I feel like it's pretty far away, but yeah, this is a comfortable highway cruiser. When you look at reviews of this bike, some of the things that they mention is that the bike feels top heavy, and that is absolutely true. when you have this bike under 15 miles an hour, it turns in really top heavy. The way that the geometry is set up on this motorcycle, the CG or the center of gravity is a little bit higher, and you feel that when you're going at low speeds and when you're going at high speeds trying to flick the bike. If you were to compare this to the Monster, I would say that the ergonomics and suspension geometry of this bike is more towards of a sport tourer than it is more of like a canyon carving sport naked. But for me, the ergonomics fit really well. I'm also very average height and weight, so I like the ergos. This seat is so good compared to a Monster or an FZ09 that I've also had. This back wall keeps you from sliding back. It has a good amount of power. I'll go over that in a little bit. So it is nice to have that there. It also has a good transition between the seat and the tank, which for all the guys watching, it helps you with your gentleman parts. As far as two-up riding, you've got a good back seat and good grab bars. Really comfortable for the passenger. And when your passenger pillion reaches over, they can grab onto the tank and stop themselves. So good ergos. Really like it. The only thing that I do not like as far as riding comfort with this motorcycle is the under the seat tail exhaust. It sounds good on paper, it looks badass, but when it gets hot, you feel it straight to your buttons. That's the only bad thing about it. As far as a dash layout, pretty standard stuff. As I mentioned, I have handguards, which I really like for wind protection and commuting. You have riding modes and a flasher, which is pretty neat. I really like that when you're passing or splitting lanes. High beams, low beams. This is how you select the modes on your dash. This is your turn signals horn. It has a hazard, which is neat. And this is also how you switch between the riding modes. The big difference between this and other nakeds of its time is that this motorcycle came with 3 riding modes. It's a complete fly-by-wire throttle system. So that means that the throttle isn't connected to your throttle body. It's connected to a pickup servo, and your throttle body is controlled by another servo. It's got 3 modes, rain mode, track mode, and I think a normal mode or a regular mode. Either way, rain mode really slows down your throttle response. So I have used it in the rain and it works, it slows it down. The normal mode is pretty good around the city or commuting, and the race mode or track mode, all it does is just makes your throttle response a lot sharper. So as far as engine performance, this is an L-twin dual cylinder 750cc Italian engine. It's got a lot of low end torque and tends to run out towards the top like typical for most L-twins. It has a little bit under 80 horsepower. I think it's 77 horsepower and 60 foot-pounds of torque, which for this bike, it's pretty good. It's got a lot of pick up and go. If you want to do a lane change and pass a car, you've got plenty of torque for you. When you go to two-up riding, it does bog down a little bit, but it's still really spirited and fun. That's what I love about L-twins. The 6-speed transmission's pretty good. Finding neutral can be sometimes a bit of a struggle, but I just chalked that up to being Italian. I guess that's how these are. I think that's one of the reasons I like this more than the Ducati engines, because it's easier to maintain and provides you with equally as much fun without all of the hassle that comes with the maintenance cycle that the Ducatis have. As far as suspension, this bike is really more towards that long sweeping type of cruising. You can easily have a great time going up a mountain road, but when it gets really tight, this bike is gonna struggle a little bit. It'll do it and it'll be fine, but the way that the weight is positioned is a little bit top heavy, and the way that the rake and your body position is on it, you feel like you're working pretty hard to get it in there. Compare that to the Monster 696, where it's a little bit more flickable. This bike struggles in that department, just to be honest with you guys. The way the body position is lends itself more towards like spirited highway riding. It's great for that. You're really comfortable in that position. Can you still carve canyons on it? Heck yeah, you can. You're gonna have a great time with it. Just know, you're gonna be working a little bit harder than you would be in a bike that's got a better suspension setup. The components itself, it's similar to the Monster. It's, I think, almost identical as far as diameters and manufacturer, but the frame composition is a little bit easier in the Monster. I think this bike has a wonderful exhaust note. The L-Twin to a dual exhaust out the rear, pretty awesome. Let's take a listen. Some of the things I hate about it is, one, really hard to find parts. It's not as common as the competitors that they designed this bike towards. So kind of hard to find parts. Two, this exhaust gets filthy because the rear tire kicks up dirt onto it. So it's always dirty. Number three, most people have never heard of this bike and they're always asking, hey, what's that? Oh, it's a Shiver? I don't know, I never heard of it. That's gonna happen if you own one. So that's what I think about my Shiver 750. Overall, it's a pretty good bike. It's not perfect in any way, and arguably it's better and worse than the Monster in different areas. The reason I like it, and I've picked up a couple, is because I usually get a really good deal with them on the used market. The owners that have had them before took good care of them and usually left them in a good state to buy used. Some of the things I don't like is parts availability, and the suspension isn't my favorite thing. But if you guys are in the market for a Sport Naked, don't overlook these. They're pretty good bikes. So yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions in the comments, and hope you guys ride safe. See you later.